Okay, again, an overview of the webinar content for Make My Site Look Better. I'm going to give you a brief introduction, and then we're going to, I'm going to tell you about some design principles that can guide you when you start putting content on your page. We're going to talk about visual hierarchy, the rule of thirds, and layout and flow. And then we're going to talk about workflow, which includes planning and editing your content. And then I'm going to give you a demonstration and show you how these principles work in the website and how they would look on your website. So why page layout is important? In general, you want to attract visitors, you want to direct them to most important content, you want to encourage them to stay on your site, excuse me, and you want to increase visitor engagement. Excuse me. When visitors come to the county extension websites, they are probably most of the time looking for information. And so a good, clean layout attracts them there, but also helps them and directs them to the most important content, helps them find what they need or find someone within the office who can help them. And it not only encourages visitors to stay on your site, but it also encourages them to come back and to interact and engage with not only your website, but you and your staff. And again, also increases visitor engagement, not only with the website, but also with you and your staff. So the first of the design principles we're going to talk about is visual hierarchy. Visual hierarchy is the arrangement or presentation of elements of in a way that implies, I'm sorry, I got a frog in my throat. Sorry, let me start that again. Visual hierarchy is the arrangement or presentation of elements in a way that implies importance. So with this particular graphic, you can see that you can use things like color, spacing, bold, and so on to guide people and so that they see what you need, what you think is the most important for them to see. And when we get on to, when I get to the demonstration, I'm going to show you that in practice on a county website. The second thing is the rule of thirds. And this stems from the theory that the human eye naturally gravitates to intersection points that occur when an image is split into thirds. So if we had a picture here and we evenly split it up into thirds, 41% of the users focus in this sort of upper right corner, well, not really upper right, but this first intersection on the right-hand side, upper right. And then next is underneath that, 25%, and then 20 and 14. And that's important when you are trying to determine what information is important. After you've determined what information is important, how you, excuse me, how you place it on the page. This is also the rule of thirds is a general principle or a guide for all of the creative and design art forms, including photography and graphic design. So you can use that when you are, think about that when you're making your flyers or if you're taking pictures you kind of think about that. And you'll notice that when you do use some photo editor, they automatically put these guides in and divide your picture up into thirds so that you know how to, so that you have a better idea how to crop it so that it'd be more appealing. The next principles are layout and flow, and included under that is white space and Z pattern. White space is the portion of a page left unmarked, like the space between columns, lines of type, graphics, figures, objects drawn or depicted. And I don't know if anyone remembers the Apple ads from, what was that, probably early 90s. Apple always uses white space very well. There seems to be a little bit of not an aversion, but people seem to want to fill up every bit of space with type. You know, I've read that there is no real psychological reason for that, but that it probably goes back to the time when people had to pay for space in a newspaper, and you know, so space was money, and as much information as they could get out there, they tended to do it. But it's not very pleasing to the eye, and it's also unfocused and cluttered, and so good use of white space is something that you should keep in mind too. And then again, we've got the Z pattern layout, and this layout format is designed to help ensure the audience sees and processes important elements on your page. And so studies have shown that we, especially who read English or Western, Latinate, whatever, we read left to right. So we look at images, we look at websites the same way. So we start here and go here, here, here. And some things you'll notice, okay, the logo's first. That's the first place that you're going to look. So a lot of times when you go to a website, you'll notice the logo is up there. Our extension site is the same. And then you've got some other maybe less important information here. And as you go across, you notice the larger image. And then over here, starting over here, you've got more information that goes across and leads you finally to a call to action. And these headlines here, not headlines, but this bold type sort of helps guide your eye across so that you can get to the call to action. All right, let me go back. Does anyone have any questions or comments about the layout principle or the design principles?
I don't see any questions yet.
Okay. All right, so one of the most important things, and I know that I have done training with several of you, AEM training, and one of the things I tell you that it's best to have a plan before you get started, and so we are going to again talk about that. With the design principles as guides, you need to plan your page before you begin. And planning your page can be something as simple as an outline in Word or text edit. You can sketch it out, draw boxes with pen and paper, or you can print a layout guide, which I will be providing in the next day or two, and take notes on that. And these are some examples of some layout guides. Here we have a very simple, what's called 3-box. You have a main image and then a couple columns underneath for less important information. Important information because it's up top, but less important than the main image. Then we've got more of a sort of a power grid that has a main image, but then it's also got a larger sort of left-hand column, and then some more smaller information over here. Sorry about that. And then we have another power grid. If you've got lots and lots of information, you can build it up. And so one of the things that with the rule of thirds, even you're thinking in terms of a grid. And you can see that here really in these layout in these layout examples. And you need to be sure to edit your content beforehand, especially images. Images need to be cropped and sized before you use them on the site. Now, in the past, I know we have, we've suggested using PicMonkey because it was free. It is no longer free. So we have a new free photo editor called Canva Photo Editor. I know that I know at least one person that may be here uses Canva also. It's a graphic design tool that you can lay out flyers and brochures and letterhead and stuff. But they've got a really nice photo editor that is free. So if you just go to canva.com/photo editor, it's really easy, and I will demonstrate that at the end. So let me go back to this slide. Does anybody have any questions about like workflow and how to use the sort of think in terms of a grid or an outline, and using these sort of layout guides? Did you say something, Ben?
I didn't know. I think we're okay.
Okay. Actually, I just saw a question from Mary Beth. Yes, we will be, yes, I will include a copy of the PowerPoint in the email, in the post-webinar email. Okay, if we've got nothing else, I'm going to stop sharing for a moment and go to all right, there we go. So here's our example county web page. This is the home page. You can notice a few things about this. First of all, it's got a very nice use of white space. And that particular part is designed in by our designers when they put the template together. So it feels nice and clean, open, easy to see things. As far as the information on this page, if you scroll down, it's just kind of straight information that is kind of just put on the page. It doesn't really look like there's an order. I don't know what to look at first. My eyes, thanks to some of the template design, my eyes are kind of going, you know, from the logo and then over here to the navigation, but then over here it just kind of tapers off and I don't really know where to go next, and it's just a little bit it's a little bit unfocused. Also excuse me, also here it's sort of cluttered, and then here's this main image on the bottom that doesn't seem to, this large image that's sort of wasted, and then the call to action button is sort of down here. So it's uncluttered, I mean it's cluttered and it's unfocused. It's just kind of a bunch of information. Also, if we look at this in terms of the rule of thirds, so right here we do all right because of the heading there, and we've got the navigation over here, but then over here we just have sort of not so much stuff, and my eyes just kind of have to go sort of all over, and then I've got to scroll down. So I need to edit this page. So if you remember, I can't go back there. Remember the 3-box layout. So that's the layout that I've chosen that I'm going to use. So I'm going to go over here to AM, and we've got our stuff ready to edit. The first thing I'm going to do is, all right, so with that box layout, we're going to have a main most important information here, and then 2 or 3 columns here. And then whatever less important information underneath. So I'm going to start by, since this is going to be at the top with AEM, I know it's difficult to rearrange things. It's not that user friendly, but it's doable. So I'm going to show you how to do that. I had a conversation with one of the content managers day before yesterday, Monday, and I asked her how she was doing with the content management and editing the pages, and she laughed and she said, "You were right. I now know how important it is to have a plan for a page, because it is not easy to drag and drop these things around." So that is one of the most important things to sort of consider when you're doing layout and design. All right, so I know that I want my image, my large image, to be the first thing up here, and since we can only drag down, I'm going to start by having this at the very bottom, which it is, so that's good. And then the next thing I'm going to do is put my column control underneath. And I'm actually going to try to make this a little bit more interesting, and I'm just going to use the 2 columns here. I'm going to say okay. And now, since I can drag these down, this is important information, so I kind of want that to be kind of close to the top. And if we're thinking about the Z pattern and the fact that we want calls of actions to sort of be in this general area, I'm going to go ahead and put this B here, down here. Right there. And then I think that our events are also pretty important, so those are going to be higher up in the page too. And that's kind of long, so I'm going to edit this and change this to 2 rather than 3. And then underneath this, I am going to add some more columns. And we'll add 3 columns here. And I'm going to drag down the extension news. Actually, I'm going to want that to be there. And I'm going to put another and then I'm going to change these all to be tiled lists. And since that's a little bit long, I'm going to take off the filter and I'm going to change that to 2. And say okay. And there we go. They're a little bit more even. So now when you look at this page, you can see that we have a main point of interest here. As we come across and we're looking at the page, it goes across. This takes our eyes across to the image. And then we have a call to action. And then again, these columns with the headlines and the with the headings and the photos sort of guide our eyes across the page. And it feels a little bit more a bit more organized and uncluttered than this.
Melissa,
Yes.
this might be a good opportunity to show how Firefox helps when you're trying to resize images within rich text. One problem that I have, and probably other people have, is if you're editing rich text and then put it in a column or move it out of a column, sometimes the image in the rich text isn't sized the way that you'd want it to. And so I notice now, like in that lorem ipsum section, the image seems weird.
I see what you mean, but I don't know exactly what you wanted me to demonstrate.
Click edit. And click on the image. And you'll notice that there are those little boxes in the corners.
Yes.
It really looks bad while you're editing the thing. And so you kind of have to play around with it a little bit, but drag the lower rightmost corner down a little bit.
You said lower right?
Yeah, down and out to increase the size. Now it looks terrible right now, but click OK. And you'll see, excuse me, my voice is bad too. You'll see that it changed the size of that image. Now you can play around all day long, and it's probably not worth it for us to try to get it perfect. But I just wanted to show that this was one of the reasons why we recommend Firefox as opposed to other browsers. And Edge might do it now too, I'm not really sure. But Chrome, for those users of Chrome, doesn't do that little trick where you can resize an image from within rich text. That was it.
Oh, okay. All right, great. Thank you, Ben. All right. Let me see. Were there any questions, or let's see. Will you please show how to drag a whole section down again? I've had trouble doing that. Okay. I'm going to drag this events list. Actually, the first thing that you'll notice when you are in edit mode, what you're going to notice is this gray bar across the top of each one of the components. And that's how you move it around. You're going to click on the gray bar and drag it around. It doesn't go up, it doesn't go over. The only way you can do is drag down. So if you bring it down to the bottom of the page, it should automatically scroll down for you. And then when you get to the place that you want it, which is indicated by the purple dashed line, you're just going to let go.
Melissa, if I can jump in
Sure.
too real quick. I think Mary Beth might have actually been asking about the rich text area that you would drag, which has a number of different components. And so to clarify on that, it looked like she grabbed this whole section of text, but it only worked because it was a number of things within one rich text area. If there had been more than one rich text area, that, you know, like one rich text thing for the image and one for the text and one for the button, you could not have dragged all those at one time.
No, that's correct. So when you go into edit, you can see I've got everything within that one particular component. So now you can design by using each one of those separately, but I like doing it within the one, because you've got this style here that where you can align your picture and then it automatically wraps the text around. So if we made this really small, It's not, I don't think it's really gonna wrap, yeah, see it wrapped it around, kind of. Were there any other questions or comments, discussion? How is everyone doing on their websites? Do you guys feel comfortable editing? Are there any common problems or anything that you've run into lately that you want to share? And at this point, if you would like to go ahead and turn your mic off, you can. I mean, if you want to turn your mic on if you have something to say.
I have something to say. Can I say it?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I would say just from, this has been, again, I work with Melissa and OIT. From looking at county websites, I would say that one of the biggest challenges that I see is that, and it goes along with what you were saying, Melissa, about having a plan for your page, is that there's not, you'll look at a page, I don't know, say like the A&R page, and frequently there's no explanation for how the information on that page relates to the other parts of the page. And so it feels, I think the user doesn't know what it is. It's like a bunch of stuff, kind of like your hall closet. It's like if a stranger from outside your house were looking at your hall closet and trying to figure out what is the organizing principle behind like what gets thrown in the hall closet, you would come and you would say, oh, this is a bunch of stuff that I don't exactly know where to put it. So I would encourage everybody to think about your webpage as more like your parlor than your hall closet, and each piece of furniture or each thing should relate to the other things on the page in some coherent way. So for instance, the point of your page should be a little bit simpler rather than scattered. And that might mean that you have slightly shorter pages, but the way that those parts of the page relate to one another should be fairly like strong. Or you should tell the user what you're about to tell them, maybe at the top of the page, like on this page are 3 different things, here they are, with jump links down to those 3 different things. And so they know what to expect before they see it. There's a whole lot that could be said about organization of content, but I know that it's a struggle. It's a struggle to know, like, where do I put this thing? Like, I had an agent just tell me to like put this PDF somewhere on the website, and so now I did. So that's an ongoing challenge, I understand.
And while we talked about visual hierarchy and trying to make things sort of grab attention or pop on the page by using, you know, like headlines or images, that kind of thing, you can also go too far with that and have what seems to be everything is important, and it just kind of screams at the visitor, you know, look at me, look at me, look at me, no, look at me, look at me, look at me. And it's just, it has the opposite effect. So, yeah, like Ben said, organizing things is a struggle. And so, yeah, having a plan beforehand and really thinking about and deciding what is most important, what is it that you want the visitor to that particular page to get from that page or do when they're on that page, you know, whether it's learn more about 4-H or register for this class, whatever. You should, you know, seriously consider that, and then that'll help guide you when you're putting the information on your site. Does anyone else have anything? Questions, comments, funny stories about things that have happened in AEM?
We had a good question about whether every page of the website should have an image on it.
Mm-hmm.
And images definitely can add visual interest to your site, but I would say that the rule there is only put an image on your page if it helps to convey the thing that you're trying to convey on that page. Like, again, the website is a medium of communication. It's not a flower garden or something like that, first and foremost. It's a flower garden second, in other words. And so if you just throw an image to throw an image on, it actually prevents people from seeing the thing that you want them to see if it's not in context.
That's right. And having just text is also a good way of providing that white space too, and having a clean page. If, and like Ben said, if that image does not convey or has nothing to do or has very little to do with the information that you want your visitor to get, and you just put it in there because it looks good and you distract them, you are having the opposite effect than what you wanted.
Melissa, there's a question about video and whether in one of the upcoming webinars there'll be any treatment of how to put video on the website.
Yes, we actually have 2 webinars. I believe they're in June. The first one is sort of a guide about making videos and then publishing those to YouTube. And then the second part of that webinar, which I think will be the following week, so it'll be the first and second Wednesdays, I believe, of June. I'm not exactly sure. You can look back at the schedule. But then the second part of that will be using YouTube videos with the YouTube component within your site. There are some things that we need to consider, like closed captioning, the 508C compliance for disabilities. So, but yes, we will be doing that in, I believe it's June. Looking back at sorry, Mary Beth's question again. Let me go back over there. Excuse me. One thing about dragging whole sections, if you're talking about columns don't move. at all. So if you have anything within columns, basically what you're going to have to do is delete the columns, which of course will bump all this stuff back out. And then drag your columns to where you want them. So we'd have to rearrange this page again, and I'm just going to drag everything down. So as far as sections, if the information or the group of information is contained within one component, you can drag a section that way, but columns don't move. So if I want this to be back on top, which I'm getting there, I'm going to have to drag everything down. And then here I'm going to have to delete the columns and start over with the columns so that I can move these down. I just had that thought when I saw your question again, Mary Beth. I didn't know if you were talking about that or the columns, but unfortunately the columns do not move. Was there anything else? Ben, do you have anything that you wanted to add?
I'm going to put a link in the chat right now to a list in the extension training system of all of these trainings.
Okay. Yeah.
There it is right now. Actually, let me make it a link. Okay, that should work. We had a question about whether we could have one-on-one help for video or anything like that.
Yes. I am available for support and training. If you've already trained with me, that's great. And you know that a lot of times we get back together and we do guided practice. If you've done training before and you need a refresher, or if you just want some guided practice with me, or if you have a specific problem or a specific question like how to add camp videos, you can email me at caesweb@uga.edu, and we can schedule some one-on-one time to either do refresher trainings or guided practice or any support, any type of support.
I don't see anything else, Melissa, in the chat. But since this is our first one, I was wondering, like, I would love feedback, and what's the best way do you think for everyone to give us feedback on how we can make this series better, ideas and suggestions for how to deliver the content?
So as far as feedback for this particular one that will help us build on for the next ones, I am going to send out a survey in the next day or two asking you about things like how was this format, how was the presenter, how was do you have any suggestions, that kind of thing. And then we'll be able to pull that. Also, if you have any direct feedback that you want to give right now, that'd be great. or you can email me at caesweb@uga.edu. But I am going to send a survey out that I would ask everyone to fill out. And that just helps us help you. Sorry, I got a private comment. Well, if that is it, I think we'll go ahead and wrap it up, let you go a few minutes early. Again, thank you for being here. Thank you for being patient. This was our first webinar. Hopefully we'll just continue to get better with each one, and with your help, we'll be able to give you the information, the discussion, the support that you need. You're welcome.